It is Monday, 4:38 p.m. School just ended a few minutes ago, and we had a fire drill. I don't know if it was a drill or, as the kids were saying, someone pulled the alarm, especially in light of the events last week, another shooting at a high school. So it was weird because when the alarm went off, I was in the back because I set up I guess kind of like a makeshift office area. Students are reviewing for their final, and I was calling students back, and students were reassessing, and other students were in the front reviewing. So there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. The alarm goes off, and so then all the students kind of like look at me. So the first thing that I do is I just grab my disconnect my laptop, grab my laptop, because usually that's what I use for attendance. And then I just walked out into the hall just to make sure the coast was clear, because like the students were looking at me, and then they were saying, you know, is this a drill? Someone pulled the alarm, and they were hesitant, and I could see it in their faces, which that shouldn't be the case, you know, here, especially in schools, you know, when the fire alarm goes off. And so I went out to make sure that the hall was clear, but then at this point, no classes had even, you know, evacuated their classrooms to you know, proceed with the sound that the fact that the fire alarm was going off. And then I peered outside real quick just to make sure the coast was clear, and then finally told my students. And even then, when I was like, okay guys, let's go, you know, some of the students got up, and then some students kind of like still were sitting in their seats, and I'm like, we need to go. And then even like some of the other classrooms, I could hear like their teachers like, we need to go, it's like a fire, you know, the fire alarm is on. And I didn't know whether it was a drill or not. I just knew that the alarm was going off, and I needed to get my students out to the designated area. And so it was a little bit weird. I think once we got out there and everybody was okay, but again, it's just in regard to, you know, the events that have happened at two high schools within like the past, what, 2 months. It's a little bit ridiculous for the students to have to feel like that. Beyond that, we just reviewed today. Today was the last full A-Day that I had with my A-Day classes. Same thing with my B-Day classes tomorrow, and then Wednesday's a C-Day, and then we begin finals. Students get to turn in their Chromebooks if they want to. I just told my students that if they want to reassess, that they have until next Tuesday. But if they decide they want to turn in their Chromebooks, they have to reassess before they turn that in, because I won't allow them to reassess on their phones for any of the reassessments. But that was pretty much all today. And yeah, finals start on Thursday. So a couple more days of school, and then I signed up to do summer school. So I'm gonna be here. But I'm gonna grab my stuff and I'm gonna go home. It is 5:14 p.m. I actually had to come pick up my car, and I totally forgot to vlog real quick, although my B-Day classes did what my A-Day classes did yesterday, and my Cambridge students took their final exam today. Several actually did pretty well, and some did not, so I told them that they had an option to Q-drop the course if they're not going to get credit, but I was told anyways that the Cambridge program would still give credits to students, or they wouldn't fail students, that's what I meant to say. They would not fail students, even if they were failing all the way up until the final exam. So other than that, pretty straight day. Tomorrow's a C-Day, and that's about it. It is Wednesday, 5:45 p.m. I'm here late because several of my students wanted to reassess, and I told all my classes that they have until this coming Tuesday to reassess on anything. Wednesday is the last day of school, and there's a very short turnaround from when the last period ends, because tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will be half days, so school will be out by 1, and on the last day of school, next Wednesday, grades have to be in by 2. So there was not enough time for my students to try to come in after school on Wednesday to reassess on something, and then for me to have those grades uploaded in a timely manner. That's just cutting it close for me, so I'm not going to do that. So I had several students in here reassessing for various things for the last 6 weeks, because I was trying to do the whole standards-based grading pilot with my students, because it's something that I want to do next school year. And there are some things, I felt it went pretty well, but there are some things that I need to brainstorm and just read up on and just plan a little bit better for next school year, but I have the summer to plan for it. I also volunteered to do summer school. I'm gonna get paid to do it, but I'm going to do it. It's just for June, so I will be doing it Monday through Thursday, and it's not an all-day thing, but I am responsible for overseeing several different science subject areas, and they're going to be in different rooms, and pretty much I'm running around. And I was told originally that it was just going to be packet work, but I'm going to try to put something together either through Google Classroom or even through our Canvas site, so that way it can be a little bit more interactive. So I'm going to try to work on that before summer school starts, because it starts in 2 weeks, that first Monday after school ends. So because I don't really want to have the students just do packet work, and then, you know, first of all, it's not rigorous. Secondly, it's students who just sit around and, you know, their classes all school year and don't do anything, just come and do a packet and then get credit for a year's worth of work. Doesn't seem fair to the other students. So I am going to use Canvas or Google Classroom to put something together. So I'm gonna grab my stuff and I am going to get out of here. It is 2:52 p.m. Thursday. School's out. We got out at 1:10. It was 5th and 6th period finals today. 5th period I'm off, and so I had a student who won't be here tomorrow, so she took her final early. My 6th period we went to the library, mainly because last week I found out that students had the option of turning in their Chromebooks, and so I didn't know who was going to turn their Chromebook or not, and so I decided to reserve the library. Many of my students kept their Chromebooks, at least my 6th period anyways, but students that didn't have a Chromebook or turned them in, they use school computers in the library. And then I also gave a survey. It's interesting because I went through some of the comments, and so a lot of them were very positive, you know, like, you're a great teacher, etc. But then some of the students, and I'll probably share the feedback later this summer, but some of the students were not a fan of the blended learning. They liked more of the style of teaching that I did in the fall compared to the spring. And then some of the students were not a fan of standards-based grading, at least, yeah, some of them weren't excited about that. So they had a couple of things for me to reflect on, so I'll think about that. But with that said, I'm gonna grab my stuff and I'm gonna go home because I don't have anything to do here. I'm gonna clean up my room during my op period on Thursday. No, what's today? Today is Thursday. My op period on Wednesday, the last day of school. That's what I'm gonna do. It is 2:35 p.m. and I guess I'm smiling because today is the last Friday of the school year. Next week is the last week of the school year, and it feels weird saying that. Like, I just remember the first week starting my vlog, and I did a vlog every single week, and I stuck with it. Anyway, today, you know, again, we got out at 1:10 p.m. and several of my students did pretty well in the final, and they got grade changes for either the 4th and or 5th, 6th weeks, because I told them, like, if they did particularly well on that section of the final, then I would go and change their average. So I did that. I spent like the last hour updating grades and just kind of seeing where students fell out overall year-long averaging wise, and just seeing which students I could perhaps help out if their average was close enough to a 70. Got some survey results again. It's interesting just depending on the class, the period. There were some students that were like, yeah, you know, great teacher. I really liked, you know, the combination of the live in-person teaching and doing the videos on the Canvas site. And then I had some students, and then just some periods that they were not a fan of, you know, the Canvas, the blend videos at all. And so, I need to take a look at the results a little bit more deeply, and I'll do that once school is over and once I have all my classes results from them. But just to kind of see, like, which students indicated that, and, you know, like, overall how they did in the class. Because my goal for next year is to do more online blended, because many of my students said that they had preferred, for some, well, I know why, because they preferred the fall semester compared to the spring semester. The fall semester, I did a little bit of the blended learning, but not as much as I did this semester. Or it was more me walking around and teaching up on the document camera, and there were students who, and I would think that, you know, you could pause the video and stop, you know, when you want to ask me questions, because I walked around during the blended learning experiences. But apparently there are some students that just didn't like that. There were other students, again, who indicated that they enjoyed the fact that I was different from their other teachers because I tried these different things in the blended learning experience, and they liked that they could go at their own pace and learn at home if they wanted to do that. A lot of the videos they watched in class, and they have an opportunity to ask me questions. So I part of that, I need to structure better. This was my first year, you know, my second year back in the classroom, but my first year really trying to do a blended learning experience with the technology and the tools that were available to me. And so of course, it's trial and error. There are some things that I felt I did well, and there's some things that I know that I need to improve on, which I hope to fix over the summer. And then I also implemented the standards-based grading. And none of my students today said anything about that, but yesterday, the students who took the survey, several students mentioned the standards-based grading. They felt like, some of them felt like it hurt them, but when I looked overall, many of the students were helped by it, because normally, based on when they would take an exam in Canvas, they would get the score that they got on there, versus when they did like open response, and I looked at it and they still got credit if they had an idea and they worked the problem, but they made like just silly, careless mistakes. I still awarded them full credit. Maybe I just need to do a mix of both next school year, I don't know. And then also because I held the students accountable, like some students, and maybe I'll talk about this a little bit more next week, some students last semester, they were able to get away with stuff where they just always chose the easy route, whereas this semester, or at least this grading period, because I did the whole standards-based grading, if they wanted to get an A, they had to have all 3.5s and or 4s. And so some students, they weren't demonstrating the skills necessary to have a 3.5 or 4, so they were currently sitting at a B. So they kept coming in for help until they finally got a 3.5 or 4. But had I just done what I was doing prior to that, they would have just left it and not challenged themselves, which I was aiming to do. Maybe I need to also reflect on that process and do a little bit better job. But at this point, I am rambling. I'm going to grab my stuff and I'm going to head home and enjoy my 3-day weekend. Well, that's it. If there was anything about this video that you liked, then make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and or share the video. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe so that way you can bond with James. And if you're interested in checking out some of my other vlogs, you can do so by clicking on any of the links right here. As always, thanks for watching.